So today we shall do introduction to agribusiness management. Why? Because it's the one we have covered the most. We are about to have another lecture, and if we allow it to accumulate, it may become annoying later. So, like yesterday, we shall look at the. For today, we shall just go straight to look at the summary. Then we look at questions. I'll call upon each person to answer one by one. So, the outline for our course, the first part is the introduction to agribusiness and commercialization of agriculture. This covers the definition, scope in Uganda, aims, components of agribusiness system, and commercialization. I think we have already covered this so far. Then the second part, we go on to small business management, which covers the definition, types, importance, characteristics, forms of business, growth stages, and problems. Then the third part, this is what we covered yesterday, management and decision-making. This covers management functions, decision-making, planning, organizing, directing, and controlling. And part 4 is the profitability and growth margin analysis, which covers profitability, efficiency, gross margin calculations, and enterprise selection using examples. This is what we are probably going to cover in the next session. And we shall go ahead after that. Part 5, input and output decision and break-even analysis. Part 6, inventory control and materials management. Part 7, agribusiness record keeping. Part 8, financial market management and analysis. Part 9, strategic marketing management. And lastly, personnel management. That will be it for the course. As I told us earlier, the course summary, the course summarizes the whole program. Agribusiness. Introduction to agribusiness covers the whole of it. So we're going to touch on almost every course unit. So let's go straight into part 1, where we're talking about the introduction to agribusiness and commercialization of agriculture. And our objective today is to understand the concept, scope, and economic significance of agribusiness in Uganda and to grasp how commercialization transforms agriculture. And our key concepts that we shall be covering, we shall first define agribusiness, the components of agribusiness systems, which include input, production, processing, market, and public sectors. We shall also look at the scope in Uganda, then the aims of agribusiness farms, and measurement of commercialization. Then, why this is important? Agriculture, we know, is the backbone of Uganda economy, contributing, here I say, approximately 40% to the GDP and 80% to the employment. Sometimes other sources say 70% employment. You get the point. So moving from subsistence to commercial agriculture is critical for poverty reduction, income growth, and national development. Understanding the full business chain helps to identify entrepreneurial opportunities and manage factors for enterprises. So as we know, 70% of Ugandans are engaged in agriculture. At least 70%. The figure is more than 70%, maybe even it has hit 80%. But of those, only 5% are carrying out what? A significant level of commercialization. That means the rest are all mainly doing production for subsistence, what they're growing for home use, and they just sell a little and they go and buy other things they don't grow. But then with agribusiness, the goal is to nationwide, why the cost is taught, so that you can help people who can help bring the remaining 95% of the 70% of Ugandans who are involved with agriculture into commercialization. And we contribute a big part to that. We have seen that agribusiness does not only cover the input and production side. There's also processing, market, then public sectors. So under processing and marketing, we expect a lot of agribusiness people to be engaged. So before I continue, I want to find out, am I clear? Am I audible? Are we together? Yes, Agaton. Okay. All right.
Yes, I'm okay.
Okay. Let's use the voice. Let's use the voice chat always. Welcome, Becky. We have just looked at the outline, what we are going to cover. we are yet to start. And the last thing I said is that agriculture employs 70% of Uganda, yet it only contributes a maximum of 40% to the GDP. So you can see that this is not related completely. The most people are employed here, but the GDP contribution is the least. Why is that? It's because the majority of farmers, 95% to be exact, are carrying out subsistence farming, where they're growing mainly for home consumption. Then if there's something which remains, then they consider selling. So one of the reasons why agribusiness is taught is such that we are the country is able to increase in commercialization. Those who are growing for subsistence can come and adopt commercialization. And we looked at that agribusiness is broken down into the components of agribusiness system. We have input, production, processing, marketing, and public sectors. So not just input and production, which is the main one. Processing and marketing are equally important. And this is why we come in mainly in the processing and marketing of products. Processing can be value addition. So to go straight into the definition of agribusiness, we know that the term agribusiness was coined in 1955 by a man called John H. Davis. Since you're doing agribusiness, you are listening to know his name, because one of the Gandhi things. One time you'll be speaking, and you'll need to quote his name. And we also know that agribusiness is the sum of all operations involved in producing and distributing agricultural inputs and products for profit. We saw clearly here that agribusiness can be broken down into input, production, processing, marketing, and public sectors. And we as agribusiness entrepreneurs, we are involved at all stages. However, the stages that we are looking at, that the country is focused on right now, is processing and marketing. We find that all the time the president is talking about looking for external markets for our products. Find that he's always signing agreements with other countries and all that. Then you hear him always talk about value addition. That's under processing, value addition. So these 5 components, these 5 components are what make up agribusiness. So agribusiness is the sum of all operations involved in the producing and distributing of agricultural inputs and products for profit. It views agriculture as a business from production to the final consumption. That production is the supply, the consumption, that's the demand. So the whole thing for us as agribusiness, when we see agriculture, we say business. So you can think of it as more than just farming. If a farmer in Lima grows maize, that is production, buys seeds from a shop in Kampala, that's the inputs sector, then sells to a miller in Ginger, that's processing, and the plant is sold in the supermarket in Bara, that's marketing. That's the agribusiness system at work. You're finding a farmer who is producing maize, he's buying inputs from Kampala, maybe Koitina village, that's the input sector, he's selling to a miller in Ginger, maybe Baganjo or Safi, whatever millers. That's processing. Then you find that the fly is displayed on shelves in supermarkets. That's marketing. And the whole of it here is the agribusiness system at work. So it's the entire value chain. Now, when we are to look at the scope of our business in Uganda, when we see here the source says that it contributes approximately 40% of the GDP and 80% of exports and 80% of employment. These are rough figures. In other sources, you'll find they tell you that agriculture contributes 70% of the GDP. But okay, you can see it's an important figure here that is not commonly mentioned. Agriculture contributes 80% of exports, which makes sense. You know, Uganda's biggest export is coffee, among other crops. So 40% of GDP. So 70% of people are working to only produce 40%. That means they're not doing well. If you have like our class, let's say we're 100 students and 70% of students are working and they're only giving 40% of output, that would be unserious. So we also see that agriculture in Uganda is dominated by subsistence farming. That means approximately only 5% are fully commercial. Then we have vast opportunities in diverse crops, livestock production, agro-processing, bio-inputs, irrigation, horticulture. These are all opportunities for agribusiness, diverse crops, or livestock production. In Uganda, we are capable of growing so many different crops: rice, tea, sugarcane, coffee, maize, name it, we have it all. We look at agro-processing, since we are producing. So that means there's a gap for processing, which agribusiness people can pay easily. So that's an opportunity. Then horticulture. You find, if you go to a table, you'll find farms which are dealing in horticulture. Horticulture is the growing of flowers and fruits. So if you find them growing flowers for sale, fruits, everywhere you go, you'll find fruits. Then also advisory services. So why is this important? The dominance of subsistence farming means there's massive room for growth through commercialization. Post-harvest losses for perishables as high as 40%. That's a problem, and the business opportunity is storage, transport, and processing. So as agribusiness entrepreneurs, whenever we see challenges, we see opportunities. For example, the majority of Ugandans farmers are subsistent. That gives us the opportunity for commercialization. Imagine if so far they're only contributing 40% to the GDP. Imagine if you're to, over a period of 10 years, maybe make 50% of farmers commercial. So far 5% are contributing 40%, because in actual sense, this 5% are the ones who significantly contribute to the GDP. Because 5% are contributing like 40% of GDP. The other 95% are doing subsistence, so they don't contribute much. So this 5% are contributing 40%. So if you do 10 times that number and do 50%, you expect that the GDP will grow significantly, and the percentage will move you into 80% or 90%. And if we look at the components of agribusiness, we already said we have the input or service sector, which supplies seeds, fertilizer, machinery, credit. All these are inputs. Credit, money is input. When you find circles, you find banks. That is all. Those are all inputs. You have the production sector, which involves the farm level transformation of inputs into outputs. There are the farmer in Barara. We have the maize farmer. Anyone who is in a farm doing production, that's the production sector. Then after production, we looked at processing, where we talk of value addition. We have factories, maize millers, and all those. Example is Fruit Factory, the makers of Teju juice. And if we go ahead, we have the marketing sector, which moves products into consumers, involving advertising, transport, and warehousing. Marketing sector, marketing, the movement of products, the advertising of products, the warehousing, the displaying, all that is marketing. Marketing is not just advertising. Advertising is just a small part of marketing. And the public sector provides the policy, regulation, infrastructure, and research. Example, MAIF. What is MAIF in full? Jerin?
That's Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry, and Fisheries.
Okay, thank you very much. And Agaton, you can give us now in full.
The National Agriculture and Research Organization.
Okay, clear. The exact full form is National Agriculture Research Organization. Thank you, Agaton. Thank you, Jerin. So, MAIF, if you're doing any course at Kanisa and you don't know MAIF, you need to get serious. MAIF is the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry, and Fisheries. NARO is a National Agriculture Research Organization. So these people, they advise the government on the regulation, policies, and also give research. NARO is a big center for research. We find that they're coming up with many improvements. These sectors are interdependent. Maize farmers' success depends on timely access to quality inputs, reliable or rainfall or irrigation, which is influenced by public sector programs, and a functioning market to sell to a miller. Marketing sector, the failure of one link affects the whole chain. So these five, we are always going to refer to these five whenever we talk about agribusiness. So by now, you'll put them in your head. Input, production, processing, marketing, public sector. Input, production, processing, marketing, public sector. These five is what makes up the agribusiness value chain. So moving forward, we are now going to look at the big man in the room, which is commercialization of agriculture. Commercialization is simply moving from subsistence to profit-motivated or market-oriented production. The things of producing food to go and sell, for home consumption, and you only sell a little, it's keeping us behind. I have come to learn recently at home, I've come to discover that some families believe totally. My sister, the family, the in-laws, my in-laws, who the sister married, their family, for them, they don't believe in selling food. They grow so much food, but they don't believe in selling. And for me, I don't, and it's up to us as people who are learning here at KAYES, agriculture, extension, forestry, all of us. It's our collective effort to see that we change such beliefs among the people. We cannot have people believing that there's something wrong with selling food. If they are buying food, why should there be a problem with them selling? Because it's not possible to grow anything. You need tomatoes, onions at a basic level, and so many different foods. And the climates may differ, soil conditions can't allow. So there is need for trade. It is not fair for them to say that they do not sell, yet they want to buy. I don't think that makes sense. So it is important that this belief is changed among the people. So if we go ahead, we look at input commercialization. This is the value of purchased inputs or the value of production. Then output commercialization is the value of sales or value of production. And remember, we talked of the ratio of input to output, whereby if the higher the output over the input, the greater the commercialization, the level of commercialization. So this increases productivity, income, and integrates rural populations into the cash economy. Why? Commercialization improves productivity, income, and integrates rural populations into the cash economy. So by carrying out commercialization, number one, they're able to increase the productivity of people, the income of people, and integrate rural populations into the cash economy. Now they're giving us an example. A farmer in Cabarole who used to save his own bean seeds. So at the end of, after harvesting, would keep some of the seeds and then he would plant them the next season. But now buys certified improved seeds from a dealer, has commercialized on the input side. If he used to eat all his beans but now sells 70% in photo market, he has commercialized on the output side. But both actions make his farming more of a business. So commercialization starts from where you get your inputs. If you're buying your inputs from certified improved seeds, you have commercialized on the input side. If you're selling a significant portion in the public markets, you have commercialized on the output side. Why commercialization? The Ugandan context. Why are we talking about commercialization? We know that poverty is predominantly rural. Transforming agriculture is central to poverty reduction. So we know that poverty is there, is dominant in the rural areas. And we are to transform agriculture, which is also rural-based. We are able to reduce poverty. We know that commercialization increases farm incomes, creates farm jobs, and stimulates wider economy through multiplier effect. If someone is growing on a large scale and they're doing it at a commercial scale, you find that they're employing people, even at the basic level. They can be employing people just to go and dig. But as they go on to progress in commercialization, you find that they reach a point where they're employing managers, agribusiness managers to run their farms. They're employing researchers, they're employing different people, veterinaries, and all those. So this enables farmers to afford better education and healthcare, leading to decent living. So if farmers make more money, they're able to send their kids to better schools, they're able to afford better healthcare, and they're able to generally get a decent living. So this isn't just theory. The Presidential Banana Initiative, I think you've all seen talking by now. It is sold, you can find in the canteens across the campus. They have so many products which are all based on bananas. And the growth of dairy cooperatives in Ankole, not only Ankole, you find even Soroti, we have a dairy. Soroti, there is something. You find that there are a lot of people who are buying the products. Going forward, all this is a push towards commercialization, because if there's always a ready market for the milk, then it's hard for farmers it encourages them to grow, to rear more animals, sell their milk. Because if a farmer knows he wants to have milk, I just boil the milk, and I take it to the and they'll buy it from me at a good price. You see now the token initiative, they are producing all these products and they are good. They are nice. I've sampled a number of them. Actually, I even sampled the porridge. That one is not yet on market. Those people came for just a sampling at my former school, and I found it well. So if you find that now they're doing it at factory scale, you find that the factory is going to demand more of this. And as they demand more, they'll be able to buy more from farmers at better prices and encourage farmers to do more for commercial. Okay, so that is it for the first part, where we looked at commercialization and the introduction. So now we're going to look at our questions, and I ask that we respond faster so that we move quickly. I'll begin with, Daniel, welcome to the discussion. Good to see you. So let's begin with, I think, Amina. Who first coined the term agribusiness and in what year?
I answered this. John Harvard in 1997.
In 19?
95.
1955. So John H. Davis in 1955. You need to know these names. So we're all agribusiness experts. John H. Davis in 1955. That's where these things began.
55, not 95.
This one, let me skip it. What are the three main connotations of agribusiness as used in the 1980s? We knew that people knew that agriculture was the same as agribusiness. People thought of it as agriculture economics, agriculture excluding farming. And these were all sort of not correct. That's why I don't focus on them. So list the four major subsectors of agribusiness system. This goes back to Jerry.
We have the input sector, production, processing, and marketing.
That's public sector. Okay. Thank you, Jerry. He has done it so well. I won't repeat it. Hopefully, we all know input, production, processing, marketing, and public sector. Okay. What approximate percentage of Uganda's GDP comes from agriculture? That goes to Agaton.
It is 40%.
Okay, thank you. 40% of the GDP comes from agriculture. If you remember from yesterday's discussion where we looked at GDP, what GDP is a gross domestic product, which is the total value of all final goods and services produced within a country's borders in a year. What's the estimated post-harvest loss for grains in Uganda? This is S's question. Yes, Esther.
Loss, I don't know.
Yes.
Know about.
Yes, you're not audible.
I've told you. For the post harvest loss, again, I don't recall that.
Could you be more audible? You're saying?
I've told you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't recall that percentage.
Okay. Actually, this percentage was not given in the notes we looked at, but if you remember last semester, Professor Kaya mentioned it. About 15% of the grains are lost due to post-harvest losses. Sometimes for perishables, this is for grains. Do not confuse. The one we saw, the 40%, up to 40% was for perishables. Up to 40% of perishables is lost to post-harvest losses. But for grains, on average, 15% is lost. So if you're growing 100 kilograms, 15 kgs of those are lost. So you can see how this is affecting incomes of farmers. Okay, moving forward, this goes to Amina. What type of farmers contribute only 5% of Ghana's farming population?
Commercial farmers.
Okay, commercial farmers. Then subsistence farmers do 95%. Give one example of a facilitative service in agribusiness, Jerry.
Facilitative service, I would put that under the import sector, where you see guys like supplying maize grains to farmers.
Okay, thank you. So it's right. Every process basically outside the actual production is facilitative, from credit, insurance, marketing, storage, processing, transportation, consultancy, soil tests, research, even education. All of this. Okay, moving forward. This is Agathon. What is one primary objective of an agribusiness farm besides profit maximization? Yes, Agathon?
Yes, Aaron. I would
What is
say
one primary objective of an agribusiness farm besides profit maximization?
I failed. Pass.
Okay, so we can be sales maximization, increasing market share, building a good image, social responsibility. So this question, I think if you think of it more like what is one objective of a business apart from profit maximization, you're able to think more clearly. So yeah, those are examples. What sector of agribusiness system is responsible for creating value by converting agricultural products into what consumers find? This goes to Amina.
Production.
Or manufacturing, okay. Which sector established the policy and regulatory framework for agribusiness? Agathon? Yes, Agathon. Which sector establishes the policy and regulatory framework for agribusiness?
Yes, I will say I say the public sector.
Yeah, be confident. You're right. There are 5. We looked at input, production, processing, marketing, and public sector. Then what does commercialization of agriculture refer to? Amina.
Commercialization of agriculture. Okay, I'm just understanding it. I can't define it well.
It's okay, give us how you've understood it.
Like commercialization deals with money, and agriculture deals with cultivation and rearing.
Yes.
So commercialization of agriculture, I think it's the practice of our people
growing and cultivating, growing crops and rearing animals mainly for sale.
Perfect. The transformation of agriculture from subsistence to profit-motivated, market-oriented production. The definition is okay. Agaton, what is the formula for measuring commercialization on the output side? Yes, Agaton?
The formula for measuring commercialization. Let me try. I'm not sure.
Feel free.
I would say output commercialization index. Will be equal to value of output sold over the total value of produced output
Is that it?
times 100%.
Okay, let's see. Okay, you're on point. The formula for measuring commercialization on the output side is the value of agricultural sales divided by the value of agricultural production. Then what is the term for the stage where agriculture is viewed not just as a way of life but as a business?
Yes, but as a business, I don't know.
What options do you think?
Agriculture is viewed not just a way. I failed that. It's confusing me.
It is commercial agriculture. Okay, 12 points. Agaton. Commercialization only occurs in large-scale plantation agriculture.
It only occurs in large-scale plantation agriculture. I may go for true.
So it is false because even smallholder sector can be commercial. As long as you're selling, it is commercial. You don't have to have a large farm. Name one challenge facing agribusiness development in Uganda related to production. Amina.
Cultivate losses.
Okay. So many pests and diseases, poor soil, weather variability, inadequate extension, land fragmentation, lack of credit. Moving forward, Agaton, explain in one sentence why the agribusiness system is described as interdependent.
Yes, Aaron.
Explain in one sentence why the agribusiness system is described as interdependent.
Interdependent. Let me try. Why the agribusiness interdependent? It contributes a large percentage to the economy.
Okay, interdependency is a relationship. So you think of how does import relate to production, relate to processing, relate to marketing, relate to public sector. So you give us such an example. Back to you, Agaton.
Yes.
How does import relate to production, relate to processing, relate to marketing, and relate to public sector? Give us an example.
An example. I'm challenged.
Okay, an example. A farmer growing maize. Now you relate that to the rest.
Okay. So, grows maize. Maize is processed into flour.
Yes.
Then flour will be used as food, posho.
Yes.
Then posho be consumed.
Okay. All
Okay,
right.
Aaron.
Yeah.
It's okay. We've revealed it.
So the success of input, production, processing, marketing depend on the proper functioning of the others. A breakdown in one, which input supply describes the rest. The example of maize, the farmer is buying seeds from the input seller. Then he's selling his maize to the processors, maybe a maize mill. And then the processors, they go and put the things in shelves in the market. That is marketing. Then the government provides the laws that allow the whole system to work. I mean, how does the public sector enable the private agribusiness sectors in Uganda?
Public sectors. Wait, is a bank a public sector?
No.
It's not. Public sectors like UNBS.
Yes.
Is it rules?
Yes.
Yeah.
How
Public
do the rules do? How do the rules do set by UNBS?
Rules govern, of course. Proper what? Production of wood what? Things to use.
Okay. So by providing the necessary infrastructure, roads and research, establishing rules like property rights standards like UNBS, and creating a supportive policy environment that private firms may not afford to provide alone. The example is the government gives us roads. Welcome back, Esther, and this is your question. Why is measuring commercialization important for a farm manager?
Why is commercialization important for a farm manager?
Yes.
It is because commercialization is more profitable than other than subsistence.
It's more?
So, are you getting me?
I'm getting you.
We have said commercialization has to be measured by farm manager because it is more profitable, and the manager has to get to know how he or she has performed within that sector and within a given year.
Okay, correct. It's more profitable. Welcome back, Jerin. And the next question is yours. What's the difference between efficiency and effectiveness in agribusiness profitability?
Efficiency is the ability to gain maximum output for minimum inputs used, while effectiveness is the ability of something to be productive, to provide you with output no matter the value, the volume.
Okay, very good. Efficiency, maximum output with minimum input. Effectiveness is just the ability to work, for something to work. So efficiency is about the least resources, minimizing costs to produce output, while effectiveness is about doing the right things well and achieving preset goals like target yields or sales. Back to Agaton. Briefly describe how commercialization can have multiplier effect in the wider Ugandan economy.
Yes, Aaron. Employment creation.
Yes.
Commercial agriculture and agribusiness has created jobs in farming, marketing, and processing.
Perfect. That's a very good example. Creating jobs, when people earn money, they pay taxes. We know that. This all contributes to the GDP of the country. A farmer can earn more income and spend on local goods and services, creating demand that stimulates non-farm businesses, leading to more employment and economic growth beyond the farm gate. So as the farmer buys inputs, he's buying them from maybe a factory. The factory is employing people like that. You find that it ends up even benefiting non-agriculture companies or industries. Moving forward, that's your question. You're advising a cooperative or maize farmers in Kasese. They want to understand their role in the agribusiness system. How would you explain it?
Motivation, cooperative workers, they want to understand the role of the explaining. Like, what do they want?
You advise, what's the role of farmers in agribusiness system?
The role of farmers, of course, to produce.
Answer the question well. You're advising a cooperative of maize farmers in Kasese. They want to understand their role in the business system. How would you explain it?
I'm telling to frame the work.
You give us what you have.
I would.
Okay, you're talking to the farmers. Now you're telling them what their role is. So how would you tell them directly to the farmers?
Cultivating. Okay, they should cultivate for commercial.
Okay. You are the core of the production sector. You transform inputs like seeds and fertilizers into maize. Your success depends on the input sector for quality inputs, the processing sector to buy and add value to your maize, and the marketing sector to get it to consumers. The public sector sets the rules and can help with extension services. So remember, agribusiness relates to the whole input, production, processing, marketing, and public sector. So always, most of these questions, you may need to bring out those aspects. So the farmers, their primary role is to produce, and production is dependent on the input sector giving them the right inputs, the processing sector buying, marketing. Then also we have the public sector providing the proper regulation and maybe even extension services. This goes to Esther. A farmer in Masaka grows matoke mainly for home consumption, but sells a small surplus. Using the commercialization index formula, how would you assess his move to buy a tractor on credit to increase his marketable surplus?
Yeah, which one is the commercialization index formula?
So remember, commercialization look at two aspects:
Mm-hmm.
input commercialization and output commercialization. Output commercialization is simply output, I mean, output sold divided by total output produced. Then input, I think, is input bought divided by total input. Yeah, I think that's it.
I believe.
For example, let me use examples. For input side, we are saying the ones you buy over total. A farmer maybe is going to buy maybe seed. Maybe a farmer is going to plant. They decide to buy seeds, and maybe they decide to use their own. No, let's say they buy a hoe. That's an input. But then the seeds, they use the seeds which they had from the last season. You grow maize in 2025. You harvested, you kept some of it, and now you're going to plant it in 2026. But then you buy a new hoe. So the formula should be bought over the total. Then after you've harvested, at home you end up eating maybe, if you've harvested 100 kgs, at home you end up eating 80 kgs and you only sell 20 kgs. So that means what you've sold is the 20 kgs, but the total is 100. So which gives you 20%, and here which gives you maybe, if the value was maybe 30 over 100, 30%. I don't know, does it make sense? Are we together on that formula?
Somehow.
Yes?
Somehow.
Okay. So a farmer in Masaka grows matoke mainly for home consumption, but sells a small surplus. Using the commercialization index, how would you assess his move to buy a tractor on credit to increase his marketable surplus? So what happens if he buys a tractor? His input commercialization increases, right? And if he's able to produce more, his output commercialization also increases. Therefore, his level of commercialization in general rises up. Let's see what the answer here. Buying a tractor, a purchase input increases his level of input commercialization. If it helps him produce and sell more matoke, his output commercialization will also rise. This shift moves him from subsistence towards a more commercial or business-oriented model. Okay, thank you, Essie. Jaren, this is yours. Identify an agribusiness opportunity within the facilitative services category for the growing of fish farming industry in Uganda.
For fish farming, I would say transportation.
Okay.
Reason being, fish farms require so many things like feeds. When they are transporting, chemicals, the fish from the ponds to the fillets from the lakes to the ponds, all that takes place in transportation, although it's not the only service that can be carried out. For example, there's people who offer fish feeds themselves. That's a service which can be put there.
Okay, got you. Transportation. Transporting things from the raw materials, then also the outputs. So establishing a service that provides quality fish feed or credit to small-scale farmers in Wakiso like Mukono, Wakiso, combined with technical advice. Okay, so you give anything. You just think of anything. He has chosen transportation. These people chose credit. You can choose processing or value addition. You can choose marketing. You can choose different things. Your choice. Based on the scope of agribusiness in Uganda, propose a viable enterprise for an entrepreneur in the input sector in a region like Southern Uganda. This goes to Agaton, I believe. Yes, Agaton. Agaton.
Yes, Aaron. Based on the scope.
Based on the scope of agribusiness in Uganda, propose a viable enterprise for an entrepreneur in the input sector in a region like Northern Uganda.
Northern Uganda.
Yeah.
Northern Uganda.
Don't worry. Those things of Northern Uganda, what they just put them to distract you. Just look at the question. What does the question want? Inputs. So if you're to do a business in inputs, what would you do? What would you sell?
I would sell products and services. For example, improved seeds such as maize, beans.
Yes.
For services, I will sell veterinary drugs and
Okay. So every region needs seeds. Every farming community doing farming needs seeds. So that's it. Sometimes when you're answering these questions, they can put for you things like Northern Uganda to distract you. But if you summarize the question to its basics, they want input sector businesses. So that's how you answer it. Young, welcome. The next question is yours. If post-harvest losses for tomatoes in Nakasongola are estimated at 40%, what strategic action within the agribusiness system would you prioritize to address this challenge? Yes, Ediangu. Ediangu. Ediangu, are we together? Okay. So investing in primary agro-processing, which is small-scale tomato drying or packaging facility and cold storage to transport solutions to reduce spoilage and add value and connect farmers more reliably to markets in Kampala or beyond. Are we together, Django?
I'm not going to get questions. Let me just leave.
Okay. So yeah, that's has been it for the part one, where we're looking at commercialization and the introduction. Now we're going to part two, where we talk of small business management. Uganda is predominantly made of small businesses. We all know that. So the definition of, first of all, we know that small businesses can be defined in different ways. Can be defined by number of workers, can be defined by their revenue, can be defined by other aspects as well. So our objective is to understand the role, characteristics, types, and life cycle of small-scale businesses with a focus on their critical importance within Uganda's agribusiness and national economy. So we have to see the characteristic, types, then the life cycle of these small businesses. And you have to see their effect on agribusiness and the national economy at large. So the key concepts, we shall start by defining the MSMEs. MSMEs. Agaton, could you give us a full form? Yes. MSMES. Yes, Agaton.
Yes, Aaron.
Give us the full form of MSMES.
MSMES. Huh.
Okay, let's start with a simpler one. SMEs. You know the full form of SMEs?
Not really.
SMEs are small and medium enterprises. So MSMES are micro, small, and medium enterprises. Hello, Patricia. Welcome to the discussion. We completed part 1 of commercialization and the introduction. Now we're on part 2 where we are looking at small business management. Are we together, Patricia?
Sorry, I mean like, yeah, we are
Yes.
together.
But you're on time for part 2. Don't worry. So part 1 we covered it, but I'll share with you a recording. You're on time for part 2. So so the definition we are going to define what are MSMES, which are micro, small, medium enterprises. The importance of the economy, key characteristics, types, and well, we look at production, distribution, retailing, services, financial, then forms of business organizations, so entrepreneurship, cooperation, partnership, growth stages. So why it matters, we know that these micro, small, and medium enterprises, which are MSMES, MSMEs, contribute 90% of Uganda's private sector, 90%, and are the primary engine for employment and innovation. Most agribusiness ventures start as small businesses. Understanding their structure, legal form, and growth path is essential for launching, managing, and scaling a successful agribusiness enterprise. So, to begin with, we want to understand the dominance of MSMES in Uganda, MSMEs in Uganda. So MSMEs make up 90% of Uganda's private sector. They employ about 2.5 million Ugandans, and 40% of MSMEs operate in the agriculture sector. And the geographical concentrated as shown, you find Central 35%, Western 23, Kampala 18. So this is the introduction. Remember, 90% of Uganda's businesses are MSMEs, and they employ just about 2.5 million people. 14% of them are in agriculture. So you by already from this you can see that agriculture is lacking. Agriculture has 70 to 80% of the population, and of the 90% of the MSMEs in Uganda, only 14% of them are what? Are in the agriculture sector. That means there's really a big gap for agriculture businesses in the economy. So if you are taking so this is just a statistics, yes?
Aaron,
I'm getting you.
you help us meet Agaton.
Yes?
Meet Agaton.
Yes, Agaton?
Yes.
Are we together?
Yeah, I'm on. I'm on.
Any question?
Not really.
Okay. Am I still audible? Am I clear?
Yeah.
All right.
Agaton, there is some noise coming from your thinking. You're mute.
Sorry.
Okay. Let's go ahead. Yeah, let me just recap this once again. MSMEs in Uganda are 90% of businesses, but they only contribute, but agribusiness in the agriculture sectors, only 14% of them are MSMEs. So this shows that there's a big gap. Yet agriculture employs 70% to 80% of the population. So let's go ahead. So this isn't just statistics, it's a reality of Uganda's economy. When you think of a business, you're most likely thinking of an MSME. They are prevalent. Agriculture means they are mastering small business management, directly equivalent to managing most agribusiness startups and operations. So what is a small-scale business? There is no single universal decision. I mentioned this earlier. There are several criteria used. Number one is number of people. We will talk of sales volume there. Asset sales volume is the same as revenue. So Uganda's classification, less than micro businesses are just employing less than 5 people with turnover of less than 10 M in a year. This is annual turnover. So if you're making less than 10 M a year and you employ less than 5 people, you know you're a micro business. If you're employing 5 to 49 people and your turnover is between 10 and 100 million, you're applying up to 50 people and your turnover is about 100 million in a year. This is your total sales. Then you are considered a small business. So you can see that the bar is so high. If you say 100 divided by 12, it's almost 10 M. So if you're making sales of less than 10 M in a month and you employ less than 50 people, you're a small business. You're employing 50 to 100 people and your sales don't reach 30 M a month, which is 360 in a year. Then you know you are a medium business. So by this already you can see that you have covered almost all the businesses in Uganda. So when they tell you that 90% of businesses are MSMEs, I think you can now understand, because employing 100 people, not so many businesses employ 100 people and are making turnover over 360 M. I think if you had to look, the most, because even if you look at one of the common big businesses, which are schools, it's hard to find a school with 100 teachers and with this kind of income. So often owner-owned with simple technology, that's a characteristic of all of these MSMEs. And why does the definition vary? A small dairy farm in Ghana with 20 cows is different from a small horticulture export company in Wakiso. The key takeaway is their scale relative to the market and their operational complexity. Think of a local Chikumi cha emere or food stall versus a well-established restaurant in town. So why is there no clear definition? Because if you look at different contexts, if you see now like a farm, employing a farm with 20 cows, employing 5 people, then you have maybe also a restaurant in Chikumi employing 5 people. Are they of the same size? So there's no universal definition. It all depends on your industry. So for farms, there's a specific definition they follow. For restaurants, there's a specific one they follow as well. Why are these businesses important? Number one, competition and innovation. These businesses bring about competition and innovation. They broaden the distribution of economic or political power. I remember the example the lecturer gave us. He has come, he has started in Central, he has managed to make his money from Central, and he can go back and invest it in his home district. So that is distribution, decentralization. We have general employment and minimum investment. We know that small businesses, they don't cost much to start. You don't need hundreds of millions to start. You just need a few 100,000 or sometimes a few millions to start. Then employment that is obvious, this give employment. Then also we have promote exports in niche products like vanilla, shea butter. You find that farms producing these products like vanilla, they are not so big, but they contribute significantly to the exports of the country. Then we have development of entrepreneurial takers. Okay. Also, there are the economist testing a young graduate in Lagos starting a solar power irrigation services, driving innovation. A women's group in Apache. Okay, production. So types of small businesses, this is the important part. Types of small businesses, we have those doing production, where we have crop, livestock, forestry, and farms. All these are producing. The farmers growing crops, farmers rearing animals, those in forests, and those with farms. All these are in the production part. Then distribution of retailing, this bring goods to consumers. An agro input shop in Masaka, maize, wholesale in Ginger. Services, we have personal, we have hotels, restaurants, then professional, we have vets, accountants, financial. Then franchising, operating under an established plan. Let me go through this once again. So if you remember, when we're looking at the introduction to agribusiness, we looked at the 5 aspects of agribusiness. So we talked of input, we talked of production, we talked of processing, we talked of marketing and public sector. Now, when we break it down to agribusinesses, now we want to look at in terms of businesses. Input, most of the input and marketing businesses can be put under distribution or retailing because they're doing something similar. They're selling products or to people. Then some of the input businesses like veterinary can be put under services. These are service businesses. Then we have productions. Production remain the same.